Lieutenant Colonel Dennis O'Kelly at Warhampton 12. Does the existence of exchanges make it easier or harder for you to profit? And what are your thoughts on the dwindling liquidity?
Well, I try and target markets that do not have either exchange markets or liquidity. So again, request a bets, what are paddies, but even things like team to score in both halves. I don't think it exists in Betfair for most matches, and I think in some markets it's generally completely illiquid. The win both halves and things like that, because it is true that as these markets become liquid, especially in the match odds for 1x2, the bookmakers odds just don't exist. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Corals and Ladbrokes are bad shops, because their computer systems hinges everything onto the exchange price. If there's a horse that's 40-1 and someone accidentally misclicks and it goes all the way down to 5-1 for a few seconds and then back to 40-1, it will do that in Coral shops because they're following the exchange prices. So I deliberately try and target away from them. They can be good. They can be a useful source of information. I like taking information from the primary markets and using that to go and have a look at the secondary markets. The other thing I don't like as well, though, sometimes even if we're targeting a market that doesn't exist in the main books, occasionally it could then appear on Matchbook as like a special market because someone had seen that we had value on it and they want to either use it as an arbitrage opportunity. And that can be really annoying because it never sustains any level of liquidity, and one person being greedy just kills the entire thing. We actually sat down and spoke to the Matchbook guys about that because they are fairly long-term members of Bookie Bashing, the guys that run the Matchbook service in the UK, and that we've come to some sort of agreement that on the very sensitive markets they're not going to do that anymore, because that was starting to really grind my gears. So I'm glad that they went in the correct direction there.
Okay, Colin McCready at CC_Macca. Has Bookie Bashing inadvertently become a huge aid to alert bookmakers to their leaks? And are there any regrets that many angles are crushed by publicizing them?
No, well, yes, no, because there are two different types of angles. Okay, so there are angles that can sustain liquidity, and there are obviously lots of angles that cannot sustain liquidity, as I was discussing in the previous question. So at Bookie Bashing, what we do is that there are two sections, trackers and tools, and the trackers can sustain liquidity. You know, Rory McIlroy 10-1 to win the Masters. The bookmakers will be taking money on that if we say that that's a value bet. The horses, we had, we estimate the EV of over 1 million bets in 2021. Six-figure bets, quantity of bets, 6 figures were determined to be plus EV, and we pushed these to our trackers, and that's enough quantity that a community can sustainably be betting on these without it being killed by the bookmaker. But the important thing is the other side of the fence is the tools, and this is really a lot of where we encourage advantage players to be out there searching for things themselves, and we have private live bet tracking. So let's say, Simon, you know of an edge. I'm completely making this up. Don't go and look for it because I'm making it up off the top of my head. But you know that both teams to have 3+ corners and a goal in each half happens to be value more often than not on machines in paddy power shops. So and no one else knows this, and you know it. What we have in our tools is you can set that bet up as a bet, both teams to have whatever I said, 2 corners in each half and a goal in each half. So you can set that bet up. You can assign games to it, or sets of games within leagues to it, so that they're being monitored in the background. And this is all happening privately. And if you happen to know the back odds, you can say, the back odds of this are 4-1. Let's just sit and wait until the market moves in our direction, because, the over 2.5 price, it starts to come down. That means that it's more likely that there's going to be more goals in the game, which means that there's more likely that both teams are going to score. This bet could rise up in EV. You see it on your tracker. Nobody else knows about it. In fact, we're integrating now. If you've got a team, your team can know about it, but nobody else knows about it. And this private tracking gets round the issue that the bookmakers think that there are even leaks out there, because, you know, these little bits of edges are only being hit by very, very small teams. And often the bookmaker doesn't even know that the leak exists in the first place.
Okay, now I think this is because it's at ill-advised22. You said in the Better People interview, and I was interested in this as well, it's not your typical type of service. It requires a specialist type of member. What percentage of people join and don't last, for example, 3 months? And if somebody wanted to join your service, what would you recommend they do?
So in terms of decay, we have a very good retention rate, but in our business, we always find that people will be leaving, cancelling and quitting. It could be because of the summer break. It could be because people unfortunately have got restricted everywhere, and you know, the soft bookmakers being the easy stuff, then that's enough for some people. Especially, you know, we do encourage using shops, but if you're in the, you know, if you're in the Orkneys and you don't have a team, then shops are fairly limited at your disposal. And sometimes people just want to break. I mean, even when you're an advantage player and you're making money out of this game, it can become a little bit grinding, going on and on and on. So we do find that when people cancel, it's not really because of the service of bookie bashing. It's because of needing a break or finding that they were just fed up a little bit with the inevitable restrictions that come around. I don't have figures off the top of my head for how many people stick it out for 3 months, but I would say it's the majority of people. I think there is the occasional person that signs up thinking that we're just tipsters, and they're gonna, you know, get an email dropping saying, here's 5 horses to bet on the weekend, and they can be overwhelmed about the fact that, you know, there are so many opportunities going on at the same time, and there's very few people hitting them all. Some people like hitting darts, they hit darts. Some people like hitting the shop coupons, they hit the shop coupons. Very few people have the sort of scope of vision to be doing absolutely everything, although the guys that do have that scope of vision tend to be the ones that are absolutely cleaning up. And I also wouldn't say that the specific type of member has to be specialist. If you just wanted to sort of join, pick a few horses, pick for a lucky 15 a few times a day, that's quite a lot of people just use bookie bashing for that. And the feedback that we have is that they have quite a lot of success doing that. Although I would also consider, I always try and push shop coupons. It's not the most popular part of our site, but for anyone that, because there are logistics involved, because sometimes it is easier to work in a team, and if you're not in a team, then it's hard to get to the shops. But I don't recommend anyone go and check out the Smart Betting Club report they did on it. They started doing shop coupons at the beginning of the 2021 season. And by the time it was December, they published their updated report. They'd placed 143 coupons in shops. And I think they'd staked something like £27,000 for £12,000 profit and an ROI of 45.8%. So it's one of those things that continually pushing to people, and it will always take quite a lot of liquidity, because a lot of these shop coupons, the bookmakers have no idea how they're being hit. And finally, if you just want a really quick win, golf is the quickest win you can possibly have. I mean, it could just be 10 minutes every Wednesday. We have a golf tracker, but to benchmark how well it's performing, we put up weekly golf options the Wednesday before the Thursday tournament, and everyone can see this. Look, if you don't want to look at the golf tracker, just go to the golf options and bet on those guys. Since 2019, you would have spent £4,000 on subscription at Bookie Bashing, and with a £1,000 bankroll, you would now have a £10,000 bankroll. So you would be net £5,000 in profit since 2019 for 10 minutes work every Wednesday, not looking at any other tracker or having any other form of intelligence. So I feel like there should be something for everybody.
Okay, now these last two, I talked to you about them. I thought they probably had ulterior motives, but you're a good sport and you want to answer them anyway. So Winston Fun Time at Winston Fun Time.
Winston Fun Time.
Obviously his real name. What's your biggest current edge that you haven't mentioned in either this interview or on your website? Would you ever actively discourage bookie bashing members from sharing new edges with the rest of your community, particularly if it was an edge you were already exploiting?
So the biggest current edge that I don't share in this interview and I don't share in Bookie Bash, and I'm not sharing because I kill it, right? So it's as simple as that. And of course, there are old teams of mine that I've been in that I know that are using the Bookie Bashing tools. I kind of know where, I'm not going to say, and I sort of know roughly what market, but I don't know exactly. And I'm very curious, but I'm not going to ask. They would never tell me, because one of the things about sitting on the top of Bookie Bashing is you should be able to trust me, but if it ever came out of my mouth in this interview or in Bookie Bashing, your edge is gone. And this hops back exactly to the answer from the previous question that I have. It's all about private tracking. Track things in real time on your own or in your team, and your edge will not be killed. Anything that we do share, we've already done due diligence that these edges are sustainable and scalable as well.
Okay, now finally, dubious bookie antics at bookie antics. Why would a genuine advantage player flag up all the lowest hanging shop and online fruit for free on Twitter and on his site that doesn't make a profit, allegedly, in commas? I'm assuming he means you hugely naive about what bookies will continue to lay, or is Tom in fact a punter basher rather than a bookie basher?
All right. Okay. So those are my only two options. Am I either hugely naive or am I punter basher? Okay, I'm gonna have to choose between one of those two later on. Why would a genuine advantage player flag up all the lowest hanging fruit and online fruit? One, I flag up everything online. All of these request to bets, what odds paddies, your odds. If you have an online account, you can go and hit them. I can't. I haven't had online accounts for a long time. My golf tracker, my horse racing tracker. If you want to be able to go to Virgin Bet, Live Score Bet, be my guest. I can't do it myself. I got restricted, as did most shops years and years ago. And you can pay me a little bit of money and you can have access to this information, almost all of it independently proofed. That is, the shop coupon tracker, the golf tracker, the horse tracker is independently proofed. And so the why is the community was always based around a number. Back in 2015, there were a number of different groups that I was aware of that were professional syndicates. Some of them had some of the same members in them. None of them would talk, but I would hear the same conversations over and over again. And the idea of Bookie Bashing was simply to bring everyone together so that we had a place to share information. We learned early doors, you can't just do this open and as a free forum, because it descends into chaos. You do have to have some sort of barrier for entry. But over time, since 2015, we've pretty much reinvested everything into growing sustainably the IT, the staff. In terms of am I either hugely naive about what the bookies will lay? Well, I would point you to Smart Betting Club for the independent proofing and see the reports that those guys have made using our tools. But it's a funny world, the gambling world. It's a little bit like there's this Twitter handle at betting scams, which should be a brilliant handle because there are so many betting scams out there. You need to separate the wheat from the chaff. Unfortunately, at betting scams thinks we're a scam. And there's a lot of people out there that just think everything is a scam, especially when it's to do with winning. I met my father-in-law before I got married to my wife. He worked in a bookies. He heard about what I do. He turned around and went, yeah, that can't be true, because lots of people genuinely think that this cannot be done. And I understand that cynicism. And look, if you're going to be blinkered enough to think that it's not possible and it doesn't work, that's fine. You don't have to come and join. But we come with receipts. Everything is transparent. Everything is independently proof. Everything is backed up. I'm not saying we've never made mistakes. We have made mistakes, but we are in the community, in the industry, of being very open about it, having an intelligent grown-up conversation, patching our leaks when somebody tells us, that might be a little bit off, and then moving forward with the corrections that we've made. So dubious bookie antics, it's all good either way.
Well, that told them, Tom. That's the end of the question. So it's really good of you to give us your time again. And I'm sure people will be very interested in them. And thank you very much.
Cheers, Simon. Thank you.
Thanks.